I want to listen to an IM that is extremely technical. Fuck you, bitch. No way. We are not going to listen to a technical IM today. We are going to listen to a bass hit IM. So take this. Fuck you, bitch. Yeah. Okay, so I'm opening a can of worms before the year ends because this is filmed in 2024 and this is about probably the most infamous IM out there right now, the FatFreq X HBB Deuce. Yes, I know that there has been quite a bit of issues going on with this particular IM and I'm very thankful that I managed to borrow a loaner in it from a friend to do this review, and I think my take will be quite different from others out there. But before this review, more importantly, I wish everybody to have a very wonderful new year and all the best of luck to you guys. So starting things off with an unboxing, I mean, this is as no frills get. What you get is basically, albeit too basic, a box with just a simple sleeve. Nothing truly out of the ordinary. Inside the box are the earphones themselves in a plastic baggie. You also get an impedance adapter that we will discuss about sound a little bit later, some literature, and a small carrying case that is really perhaps 2 sizes too small. And if you're wondering why is the unboxing experience so damn short, it's simply because there really isn't too much going on with it. Now, next, build quality. I actually really like the color scheme of the Deuce. Red and black reminds me of my younger emo days, and I also have a playlist that is a big throwback to 2005. The Deuce has a black pearloid faceplate with the HBB logo on the left and a semi-quaver FatFreq logo on the other. Logo inlays are in red and that contrasts very well with the black pearloid. The rest of the chassis is made from a black resin and has a 2-pin termination for easy cable swaps. Also, although it features a custom universal shape, it does look quite sleek in its black and red accents. The cable provided here is what FatFreq calls the silver blood cable, which is a rather lovely fabric sheath cable in a beautiful red color that matches the rest of the IEM. Inside the chassis is what FatFreq calls a bass cannon technology. It's not said what exactly is it, but from what I can hear, it's very highly probable that this is a dynamic driver. Overall, build quality of the Deuce is certainly quite well made and sturdy feeling. I am still not gonna sit on them. Next up, sound quality. I think everyone knows this, but I've just got to say it. The Deuce has a shit ton of bass, like a whole lot. Like it literally appears everywhere. It's an out-and-out bass head IEM, perfect for people who prioritizes listening to bass over all else. What is good about the tuning is that FatFreq did manage to balance out the over-the-top bass with some treble. I would still never call this balanced, but it isn't the sort of bass hit IEMs where everything you get is just bass. It doesn't sound like it's underwater. There is some treble here to really balance the high level of bass. And secretly though, these are the type of IEM that is a secret pleasure. I mean, it has so much bass that it is almost vulgar, but somehow pleasurable as well. Also, just for the record, I drove the Deuce with my Activo P1 and on some other occasions the Lotto Paw GT2. These do prefer a source with more power, so if your dongle is not very powerful, it might not release the full potential of them. Now, starting off with bass, you guys know by now that the Deuce has a shit ton of bass, but what was not mentioned was the quality of bass. Quality of bass is largely decent. It will not win awards for having technical bass, but who cares when you have so much of it, right? It has a large amount of sub bass that is rendered in a manner where it has moderate speed and decent details. Because of the large amount of sub bass, when the bass drum actually drops, you get to hear quite a substantial movement of air, which adds to realism. Mid bass is still present to a slightly lesser extent, and this creates additional oomph you hear, especially when the lower drum continues to hit. For those of you who like bass, these will satisfy you should your criteria simply be just a shit ton of bass. Dynamics here is good depending on your dongle and DAP, it needs power. So if you use something decent, dynamics will be a plenty. However, if you're using a lesser dongle or a DAP, dynamics will decrease quite a bit and separation won't be as defined. So all in all, the Deuce requires power, so do feed it with power so that it can shine. Oh, also one more thing to add. The included impedance adapter, if used here, will create too much bass to the point where the quantity of bass degrades the music a bit far too much for it to be acceptable. So my personal suggestion is to just forget it and just use it on occasions when you just want to have some shit and giggles. Mid-range, surprisingly, it renders vocals quite beautifully. The caveat is that it gets better if you actually have, again, a good dongle or DAP, which will allow the Deuce to have better separation. I am surprised by the clarity despite the higher than normal amount of bass. Yes, on occasions there might be some minor smearing, but on the whole, it performs quite well. Mid-range resolves fairly well with good levels of detail in the vocal section. Instrument separation is actually very enjoyable, as well as good level of positioning aided by the fine dynamics from the bass. Again, I need to mention again that you need to power the Deuce properly, otherwise it can lack in dynamics. In fact, it sounds rather flat if you don't power it properly. Next up, treble. Treble extension is good enough. While I won't say that it is dark sounding, it has enough treble energy to balance the overall signature quite well, avoiding the common mistake of having a bass hit sounding IM like it's underwater. All in all, I think the amount of treble in Deuce is quite respectable for a bass hit IM. It is finely tuned with finesse and it's really quite a treat. Soundstage, when it comes to width and height, the Deuce does surprisingly well when it comes to both width and height, as this is largely aided by the good levels of dynamics and precision in treble, giving it a wide and tall character. Depth and positioning. Depth again is great from the nice level of dynamics that helps it to paint a beautiful picture of depth. Positioning is also pretty good, as you can really tell where the instruments are coming from in the mix quite well. Of course, next up we'll have some comparisons, firstly versus the 7Hz Timeless 2. So the Timeless 2 is another IM that has been recently released. Featuring a planar driver, the Timeless 2 delivers a beautiful mid-range section that is coupled with smooth treble. Comparing it to the Deuce has more explosive dynamics between the two earphones. If you are a big fan of big and dynamic sound, then consider the Deuce. The Timeless 2 on the other hand does not have the same amount of dynamics as the Deuce, but it has a mid-range section that is perhaps quite a bit more articulate than the Deuce. Both are great options. And also versus the Simgot EA1000. Well, the EA1000 is everything that isn't the Deuce, featuring a V-shaped signature with an elevated upper mid-range signature, which really serves as a counterpoint to the Deuce. It is certainly a lot more serious sounding compared to the fun-loving Deuce. Technically, the EA1000 is quite a bit ahead of the Deuce with excellent micro details and spacious staging. The Deuce, however, is for the folks who value more fun in listening with silly levels of bass with a very decent mid-range performance. For me, I see value in both IEMs, and in a perfect world, I would have both of them in my arsenal. And finally, some ratings. So starting off with bass, this is great if you like quantity. Quality of bass, on the other hand, is decent, so it gets a 6.5. Mid-range, surprisingly well rendered if you give it enough power, because you get the separation from bass, it gets a 7. Treble, it is airy and has really rather decent extension, a 6.5. The overall resolution, well, I would say it's a 6.5. It renders things quite well. It isn't the most detailed sounding IM out there, but it's good enough. Soundstage, for its sort of signature, it is very decent, a 6.5. And of course, the enjoyment factor. So for the Deuce, do I enjoy the Deuce or not? I actually do, I would seriously give it a B+. It is one for the days where I just want to have a shit ton of bass in my ears, where I just want to just jam out like it was 2005 and I was in Zouk, putting my head in front of a subwoofer, that sort of thing. Terrible memories, but yeah, it reminds me of those days. It's really fun sounding. It will not be the choice for me if I want to seriously listen, but on all, it's a rather fun sounding IEM. And well, just some last words. Yeah, the Deuce at the end of it is a fun sounding IEM. It won't set the world alight with technicalities, but that isn't the point of such an IEM anyways. The point of it is just plain stupid fun. These are the pair that I'd put on if I wanted to watch movies or to make believe that I'm in the club, as mentioned, Zouk circa 2025, while on my way to work in my daily commute in the bus to and fro. With that said, this is a largely enjoyable pair of IEMs for people who just want to feel the beat. That's it. Thank you guys for watching the Superchunk Super Audio Show. I'm very thankful for everything that happened this year. Thank you guys so much for making this show possible. With that said, I hope to see you guys soon. I'll be in Kenjam NYC and in Mumbai come February. So if you guys are there, do drop by and say hi. It's great meeting you guys at shows. With that said, I hope to see you guys soon.